everybody, Cynthia here. Welcome to Module 8. We're going to take a closer look at documentation. It's never too early in the training series to begin to understand how important documentation is to our business. Throughout all of the training courses, documentation will be a recurring theme and become more specific when you are in a technical troubleshooting class. This may seem a little obvious, but our goal is to document important information during the call. By the end of this module, you will be able to list the basic preliminary information that is documented for most issues prior to troubleshooting. You will also demonstrate effective questioning to help the customer provide the information we need for the incident. And you will understand the importance of updating the incident notes with all action taken and their results. Documentation is something that happens throughout the call flow process. Each phase collects and feeds information into the incident, as you can see in this diagram, where every part of the call flow feeds into the incident. Here's a call tip for you.
Let the associate know that you are going to ask questions to set up the incident and fix their problem. This encourages cooperation, making it easier for you to help them. In Lesson 1, we look at the basic preliminary information that is documented for most issues prior to troubleshooting.
In our technical troubleshooting courses for specific systems, we will go further in depth about documenting specific technical details relevant to that system. Initially, there is some basic information common to all incidents, and that's what we will explore in this module. So take a look for just a moment. We're going to take a closer look at each one of these. In our technical troubleshooting courses for specific systems, we will go further in depth about documenting specific details, but initially there are some basic points to consider. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to update your incident as you go along. The time it will save you later, as well as the accuracy of the information, is worth the effort. Another advantage to updating your notes on an ongoing basis in your incident is that you are saving that data to the incident server. If you have notes that you aren't saving, what do you think will happen if the incident system hangs or crashes? I shudder to think of the potential rework and also of the loss, because you may not be able to recapture or recreate everything that happened. So saving along the way helps preserve valuable information. Valuable to the company, valuable to IT, valuable to your teammates. As mentioned before, as soon as you update your incident, this makes the data available to anyone and everyone that looks at your incident. It could be any number of people in IT in a variety of roles that rely on us to provide current information about what is really going on. And here's a reminder. Throughout the call, acknowledge your customer so that they know you're listening, and paraphrase back what they said in order to verify your understanding of the situation, including things like yes, I see, okay, And this is an example of a documentation template, a very basic template. As you can see, it has the error message, impact to the store, the application or workstation number, register number, the model or the serial number, when was it last working, and is this recurring? We're going to take a look at each one of those things. But you'll be creating a documentation template for yourself when you start doing more training with incidents. So one of the things in that documentation template was error message or error condition. And one of the easiest ways to get that information is to say, what were you doing at the time you received the error, or when it occurred? What were you doing? Like in the illustration here, what was this guy in the upper right corner doing? Evidently he was going somewhere on the web. Maybe he was going after a link that's no longer valid. Maybe it was a link on a page in the company intranet. You'll get that information and put it in your incident and take it from there. Closed-ended questions really help sometimes when you're not getting enough information. Unfortunately, that happens. But if you ask, are you receiving an error message, or can you check the screen and see if there is an error message, you sometimes just have to walk them through step by step, things that might seem common sense to you and I, but things that people don't think about because they have a lot better things to do than chase down computer problems. And then there's our classic open-ended question, what happened? That's my personal favorite. I've used it so much and I've had so much success with that, getting a lot of great information from the store. So one of the pieces of required information that you always have to document without fail is the application name that's being reported, or if it's on a workstation, get the workstation number or the register number, or any device, you want to get the identifying information, particularly if it has a DNS name or an application name. We do have an assortment of device types in our stores. They all have similar naming conventions across all stores, where the only difference is the store number. So you will get used to our protocol on naming workstations and registers and other devices. Here's some more typical questions. When someone's reporting a problem with an application, you might ask them, is it just this application, or is it other applications? And you know, the workstation number, register number, which we talked about. Another good question is it happening on more than one workstation or register or scanner? Have you tried a different scanner? That's a very effective troubleshooting technique as well. In many cases, documenting the model number or serial number of the device will be called for, particularly when you're having a hardware issue. So in your specific system training, like the POS and the inventory systems, you're going to learn where to look on each device to find the model number and the serial number so that you can guide the store to find it, because there's going to be times when you cannot replace the equipment or take further action without that information. It has all sorts of uses too, beyond just returning equipment, because a lot of these identifying characteristics are also part of identifying information included with the device. So for instance, you can look at the network and you can see a particular scanner. It doesn't have a name, but you can see another identifying characteristic of that device called a MAC address, and then you can start identifying the device itself. So it really comes in handy. So just get used to always asking for this kind of information. And when you ask for the model number or the serial number, sometimes they know because they've done it before, or they're willing to look for it. All you have to do is give them a few tips. So another one of my favorite questions, when was it last working? When was the application or device last working? And this is going to give you some amazing mileage, because you're going to sometimes be able to quickly save yourself and the store a lot of time and trouble And I'll show you some examples on the next. So for instance, like the picture up in the center of the page, was it working? When was it last working? And they say, oh, before that electrical storm 2 days ago. Well, unfortunately, even with surge protectors and UPSs, surges still get through into our stores and they can still destroy equipment. Other things that can cause problems in the store, even problems in the network, is like if there's construction going on in the store or power outage, or even if they've moved the equipment around, like they've moved a hardware to a new location. Maybe it's using a Ethernet jack that's not really working in that location. Maybe that jack hasn't been used in so long it's no longer active. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons. And of course, the classic software upgrade or download. Yeah, those can be notorious for causing issues. And of course, like in the upper right, equipment dropped or damaged. Yeah, I'd say so. That looks pretty bad. And how about that cup of coffee over there on the left being spilled on the keyboard? Boy, that's a classic as well. And over on the left, you've got your example of the update. So yeah, a lot of things can happen. Another important question is, has this happened before? We want to look for patterns. We want to know about chronic problems. We want to know about recurring problems, because sometimes that would indicate, particularly if it's happening to more than one person, especially if it's happening to more than one person, that there needs to be a problem investigation opened, which is a completely different type of ticket than an incident, and not something we're going to get into. But there's a whole nother world called problem management, where people get together to find the root cause of the issue. Versus an incident, your goal is to get people up and running and keep them running as fast as possible. So here's some other actions you can take, particularly if you hear there was a chronic or recurring problem, but even if not, checking the incident history of the store. You would be amazed. Like, find out, oh, they've been reporting the same problem weekly, for 3 months. Then they won't tell you. So, little rule of thumb, if it's happened 3 times in the past 30 days, definitely notate that in your incident. And even if you're able to get them back up and going, let someone know on the level 2 team or your lead, because a recurring issue like that probably warrants some further investigation most of the time. When you ask the associate to walk through what they did up to the point of receiving the error, click by click or step by step, this can be extremely helpful in providing insight as to what you need to look for to troubleshoot the issue. Not only that, but when you escalate the incident, the team that's receiving it is going to need that information, particularly our partners in the engineering teams, because they aren't talking firsthand to people and they're not used to it. They count on us for that. And so they will return incidents to you if they feel the documentation is insufficient. So do yourself a favor and always capture this information. Ask the store what they did click by click. I think as long as you make it clear that whatever you're asking the store person to do, you're doing this to help them, you'll pretty much get cooperation. Of course, there's always exceptions, but by and large, we're all pulling together in this business. I've mentioned knowledge articles a couple of times. We have a knowledge base, a repository of solutions, and you'll be using that to resolve a lot of issues. And we're not really even going to discuss it too much here, but just know that you're going to have some resources that are going to be given to you further on down the line, in addition to your training, that are going to help your day-to-day life be manageable. Well, this slide just explains why recruiting aiding the error and documenting the information is so helpful. It truly, not only helping you with your incident in that moment, but the next team that gets it, you may be doing them a huge favor. You may be doing the company a huge favor, because you could be helping identify trends and bugs impacting the business. So you may even end up contributing information that's going to be used in a new knowledge article. I mean, information like this is very useful. Hey, congratulations! You have completed Module 8. So time to go to Canvas and do some activities.